Okay, so if I were to go through the plot of Ant-Man and really talk about what happened, so Hope Van Dyne needs to save her mother, Catwoman, from the quantum realm, and they hear that Scott Lang has some had a magic dream or something about the quantum realm, and then they throw a bunch of science nonsense, and they even make a joke about it in the movie where they're like, "You just put quantum in front of everything," and so that's basically what they do. It's I don't know if any of it's real science or if it's not, but it's fun. They're just uh, whatever. So they got to get some extra technology to finish creating this quantum portal, so they can go back, and they're trying to pinpoint Michelle Pfeiffer's position in this thing. So they grab Scott Lang, who the whole time is like, "Oh no, I gotta make my curfew." But it's okay. Let's go do this thing, and then they're trying to. That's why they deal with the black market guy to get some tech so they can get to the quantum realm. But Walton Goggins is like, I'm a Southern gentleman, and I can't talk Southern. He can, I can't. Uh, Maybe I can. I haven't tried hard enough. But so he's like, he double crosses them, but he doesn't realize that the Wasp has awesome Wasp powers, and she kicks the crap out of him and some stuff. But then the Ghost shows up, who then takes the stuff that they need, or takes the lab that they own, because their lab is it's in the trailer. It's a big building. They shrink down and they carry it with them, which is nice. Uh, so she takes that. So then they have to figure out how to find that lab. And to find that lab, they find Bill Foster, I think his name is, played by Lawrence Fishburne, who in the comics is the Goliath. He's basically Ant-Man, but he can't get small. He just gets big. And he's like, hey, maybe you can do this to track the thing. And then they do that to track the thing. Then they find the thing. And then it turns out that it's all a trap set by Bill Foster and the Ghost. And the Ghost is actually a woman who somehow got jacked up by the quantum realm because her dad was experimenting with a very, very similar design to Hank Pym, and she got blasted with quantum energy, and now she's like constantly shifting between worlds or something, so she's in constant pain. So, and Ghost just doesn't want to, you know, be Ghost anymore and have extreme pain. Because of the whole smashing of atoms, probably. I don't know, some quantum smashing of that, quantum science magic. So that's her motivation. So they keep clashing because they're all trying to get to the same place. They all just have different motivations for getting there, except Walton Goggins. Walton Goggins, he just wants to make a bunch of money by having super technology, and Luis, he just wants to get his business off the ground, and to do so, he has to deal with getting involved in Ant-Man stuff. And it's charming. Is that the word? Nah. Oh. So, yeah, it's a trap, and I don't remember why it's like they necessarily needed to get Ant-Man and the Wasp and Hank Pym all in one location. But they do. Then the rest of the movie kind of plays out like Hot Potato, where Ghost has a lab, then Walton Goggins has the lab, then they've hidden, they get it back, and then they had to they needed another Ant-Man suit. So there's this really funny scene where they have to break into Paul Rudd's daughter's school to because that's where the Ant-Man suit is hidden, and there's some size manipulation. They kind of help make Wasp the more competent superhero throughout this movie by giving Scott Lang faulty suits that don't quite work right. So he's shrinking and growing at inopportune times for the sake of humor and for creative sight gags. It's good stuff. So there's this one scene where you have creepy Paul Rudd walking around. It's kind of similar to the Deadpool 2 scene when people know what I'm talking about. But this one's much less creepy and just kind of funny where Paul Rudd is shrunk. He's like 2.5 feet tall and he's walking through a elementary school trying to fit in with the kiddos with his 5 o'clock shadow and he's weird proportions. They're playing hot potato back and forth throughout the whole movie, keep clashing into cool scenes. And like I may mention Walton Goggins, he's just relentless. Like you think after like the first time he gets his butt kicked by two people who can shrink and grow in an instant while beating the crap out of him. And then just this magic half invisible white ghost person just like shows up and starts putting her hands and arms and legs inside of people, starts beating them up. You think he'd be like, oh, I'm out. But no, he just keeps showing up. And he's fairly competent for a goon that doesn't, or like a businessman villain, which we've seen before in these movies. This is the first time the businessman villain actually seemed like a kind of credible threat, even though kind of not. But I'm excited to see if they bring him back in the future because I don't know his character's name, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. I'm glad that it's in the Marvel Universe. They don't really explain it, but kind of do. But somehow, just by Scott going into the quantum realm, Michelle Pfeiffer can hack into his brain and like take control of his body or control his dreams or something. It's whatever. It's used for humor and it's fine. But again, I'm just disappointed that they didn't focus a little more on the relationship between Michelle Pfeiffer and Evangeline Lilly. Like, I still don't know anything about like their actual relationship other than mother-daughter. I thought that this movie had a real opportunity to delve into that. Maybe they tried to, and it didn't really hit right. But the humor's great. Action effects are great. Like, there's a scene when the Wasp shrinks down as someone's throwing knives at her. And then they show her slow-mo dodging the knives as a very tiny, like, wasp thing. Which kind of doesn't make sense. Like, if you're a very, very tiny wasp thing, it shouldn't be hard to dodge a giant knife. And then immediately after that knife shows up, 2 other knives show up. Like, this guy must have been going... Except he doesn't seem that fast or that proficient with knife throwing. And the fact that he almost hits her as a tiny wasp makes me really question, like, how skilled he is. Some of the other cool effects. I mean, it's really cool that Hank Pym carries around a Hot Wheel container that has a whole bunch of different cars in it. They can always grow. Michael Pena is given some stuff to do at the end. He's driving a cool car and evading the bad guys. So hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, all while the FBI is on Scott Lang and they keep trying to catch him in the act. And there's this FBI agent who apparently Scott Lang has the magical ability to make law enforcement agents really, really enjoy his company. Or like, even though they're like out to get him or don't like him or having sex with his ex-wife, they still can't help but like his personality. And that's great. Because, I mean, no one can hate Paul Rudd. So they save Janet at the end. Because, yeah. And the person who goes to go do it, they send Hank Pym in this, like, super spacesuit to go save her in the quantum realm. Which I thought was cool. They gave him something to do. So they save her and they bring her back. And Ghost is like, oh, no. Starts smashing stuff like Darth Vader, but not really. Because apparently Janet Van Dyne, a.k.a. Michelle Pfeiffer, after she's been saved, She has magical, like, Vulcan mind meld healing abilities or something, and just like, I will heal you, and takes away her pain. But I guess not permanently, because they're just like, we'll help you, and we're bad. You're not too bad, and Bill Foster, Lawrence Fishburne as the Goliath. I really expected him to, get big, and then he didn't get big, which is fine. They never like hint or do anything. They just have some humor with him talking about how he used to get big with Scott, and they compared their sizes in one of the most tasteful uh, male genitalia jokes I think I've ever heard, because I think kids would have even gotten the humor of the situation without even realizing that it could be construed as a joke like that. I wonder if Paul Rudd learned magic for this movie, or if it was just a skill he had, and then he's like, Scott Lang knows magic. Everyone was probably sad in the first movie when Antonio, his friend Ant, bit it. Uh, and yeah, that is sad. But they kind of poke fun at that too in this movie, where he has a bunch of ant friends and they get wiped out pretty constantly, and he doesn't seem to be that sad. I think he's realized that ants don't live very long. There's a joke where he's referred to as the world's greatest grandma, and they probably could have done the world's greatest aunt, and then people have been mad because a lot of people pronounce it aunt, or maybe it would be too on the nose. So I think it's an even funnier joke that it is grandma. I like how the FBI agents are trying to catch Scott Lang in the act, and even though they actively know that there is a giant Antman going around doing things, just because you can't see his face under the mask or whatever, and they can't absolutely prove that he wasn't at home doing his house arrest thing, that he doesn't get in trouble for it. You think that the FBI, like, we're pretty sure you're leaving. Maybe they should have put like a camera, like, maybe that's invasion of privacy. But, although he's not allowed to, he's going to be on probation after he's off house arrest, and he's not allowed to hang out with any war criminals, such as Van Dyne and Hank Pym, because they're like war enemies of the state because their technology violated the Sokovia Accords. Go see Ant-Man and the Wasp and enjoy it. It's fun. It's funny. It has Michael Douglas in it.